Arthur Smith's arrival at Ohio State was sold as the ultimate solution, the missing piece, the NFL mind Ryan Day needed to rescue the Buckeyes offense and restore dominance in Columbus. Headlines talked about experience, adaptability, and professional pedigree. Fans were told this was a smart, calculated move, the kind that brings championships back within reach. But what if that story is incomplete? What if Arthur Smith didn't just accept the job, but dictated the terms? Because behind the polished press releases and optimistic quotes, there's a far more uncomfortable possibility. Ryan Day may have agreed to conditions so serious, so consequential, that revealing them publicly could have shaken the fan base. Buckeye Nation, brace yourself, because the truth behind this perfect hire may be darker, riskier, and far more personal than anyone expected. Ryan Day didn't go shopping in the NFL out of curiosity, he went out of necessity. The end of Ohio State's season was nothing short of a collapse. After weeks of dominance, undefeated momentum, and a #1 ranking, the Buckeyes ran headfirst into elite competition and folded. The offense that once looked unstoppable suddenly stalled. Explosive plays vanished, execution crumbled, and in the most important moments, Ohio State looked unprepared. For a program with national title expectations every single year, that kind of failure doesn't just hurt the record, it puts pressure squarely on the head coach. Ryan Day knew the narrative forming around him. Great recruiter, great developer, but can he still win when it matters most? So he looked to the NFL not for innovation, but for authority, a name with enough weight to change the internal power structure of the program. Arthur Smith, former NFL head coach and offensive play caller, became the answer. Official story: Smith brings NFL discipline, professional structure, and advanced game management to fix the offense. Unofficial reality: Ryan Day needed someone who could deliver immediate results, because patience in Columbus was running out. When the hiring was announced, the reaction was overwhelmingly positive. Arthur Smith was portrayed as the offensive maestro, the man who would unlock the full potential of Ohio State's embarrassment of riches. A quarterback with Heisman-level upside, the most talented returning player in college football, a top 4 recruiting class loaded with transfers. Everything was in place. Smith just needed to push the right buttons. Fans were told this was about experience, about learning from the NFL, about evolution. But here's the detail that quietly slipped through the cracks. Arthur Smith didn't come to Ohio State to share control. Unlike Ryan Day's previous offensive coordinators, Smith was given a singular, isolated role. No position group, no split responsibilities, no recruiting trail obligations, no juggling duties. His job description was crystal clear: run the offense, period. That's not normal in elite college programs, especially not under a head coach who built his reputation as an offensive mastermind. So the question becomes unavoidable. Why would Ryan Day give up that much control?
To understand why, you have to go back to how Ohio State's season actually ended, not how fans want to remember it. The Buckeyes didn't just lose games, they lost their identity. Against elite defenses, the offense stalled in predictable ways. Third downs became a problem. Short yardage situations failed. The run game, already one of the weakest in the last decade for Ohio State, offered no relief. And when pressure peaked, the play calling became conservative, disjointed, and reactive. Ryan Day even stepped back into play calling duties during the college football playoff, a move that backfired badly. What was once a collaborative offensive structure turned into confusion. From the outside, it looked like a coach trying to do too much at the worst possible time. From the inside, it likely looked like a program desperate for clarity, authority, and results. Arthur Smith knew that when he took the call. And that's where the real story begins. Here's the part no one in the athletic department wants to say out loud. Arthur Smith didn't come to Ohio State just to help. He came with leverage. As a former NFL head coach, Smith didn't need this job to survive. He wasn't rebuilding his resume from scratch. He was choosing between options, including staying in the professional ranks. That gave him power in negotiations Ryan Day didn't have. And with that power likely came demands. The first, total autonomy over the offense. Smith's reputation in the NFL is built on flexibility, but that flexibility only works when he controls the system. Aaron Rodgers praised him for tailoring schemes to personnel, not forcing players into rigid structures. But that adaptability doesn't happen in shared command environments. Smith likely made it clear, if I'm responsible for results, I control the offense, fully. That means Ryan Day stepping back, not symbolically, but structurally. Less influence on weekly game plans, less say in play sequencing, less involvement in critical in-game decisions. For a coach whose identity is deeply tied to offensive football, that's not a small concession. That's a philosophical surrender. And that may not have been the only one. There's a strong possibility Smith demanded a run-first recalibration of the program, a shift away from the pass-heavy identity Ohio State fans have come to expect. His NFL offenses were built on physical run schemes, heavy play action, and multiple tight end packages. That approach requires commitment. It means changing how players are evaluated, how linemen are developed, and how games are managed late. It also means accepting fewer explosive moments in exchange for control and efficiency. In short, it means betting the future of Ohio State football on a system that has not defined the program for years. Why would Ryan Day agree to that? Because the alternative may have been worse.
This is where the situation becomes uncomfortable. Ryan Day isn't just fighting for championships anymore. He's fighting for legacy. After repeated late-season failures, every decision is now viewed through a harsher lens. One more collapse, one more offensive meltdown in a playoff game, and the questions around his leadership would grow impossible to ignore. Arthur Smith represents insulation. If the offense rebounds, Day looks like a visionary leader who made the right call. If it doesn't, responsibility subtly shifts. That's the hidden cost of Smith's demand. By giving him full control, Ryan Day may have protected himself in the short term, but at the expense of long-term authority. Once a coordinator proves indispensable, power dynamics change fast. And if Smith succeeds, Ohio State might start to feel like his offense, not Day's. That's a dangerous precedent. There's also the quarterback factor. Julian Sayin showed flashes of brilliance as a freshman, but struggled when defenses tightened late in the season. Smith's system could elevate him, but it could also reshape him. Heavy run emphasis, play-action reliance, tighter windows. If Sayin thrives, Smith becomes a kingmaker. If he doesn't, Ohio State risks wasting elite talent during a championship window. And then there's Jeremiah Smith, the crown jewel of college football, a generational player likely entering his final season before the NFL. His usage, his role, and his production will be directly tied to Smith's philosophy. That's not just coaching responsibility, that's program-defining pressure. All of it tied to one man who came with terms Ohio State may not have been fully ready to accept. So ask yourself this: why was so much emphasis placed on Smith's NFL experience, but so little on the structural changes his hiring required? Why was his exclusive authority framed as a positive rather than a warning sign? And why does this feel eerily similar to last year's defensive gamble, except this time, the offense is the soul of the program? Smith may absolutely succeed. He may fix the run game, stabilize third downs, and guide Ohio State back to the top of college football. But success will come at a price. And if things go wrong, fans may eventually realize that the real decision wasn't hiring Arthur Smith. It was everything Ryan Day agreed to give up to get him. Did Ryan Day make a dangerous pact to bring Arthur Smith to Columbus? Is this a bold masterstroke or the beginning of a quiet power shift inside Ohio State football? Drop your thoughts in the comments and join the debate.
Buckeye Nation deserves to talk about what's really happening behind the curtain.